You may be hearing statistics of the hundreds of thousands of people that are moving to Florida every single year. And depending on the source, it could be anywhere from 800 people to 3,000 people per day. The numbers are crazy. Florida is the fastest growing state in the nation. But not everybody's sticking around. There are some turn-offs about the state of Florida to a good number of people. So in this video, I want to share with you those undesirable things about Florida. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and each week I bring videos about what it's like to live here in Florida, and then I focus on real estate here in the Sarasota, Bradenton area. So if coming, going, something in between has been on your radar, then this might be a really good channel for you to subscribe to and follow. And I also would like to point out that all of my videos are put into different playlists. So if you have specific needs, jump over to the playlist tab and check those out as well, because that might help you focus in on more specifically of what you need to be watching and be aware of. So maybe you've not moved here yet, you're thinking about it. Maybe you've lived here a short period of time or a long period of time. So I want to share with you those things that some people find as undesirable about living here in this state. If you've watched many of my videos, of course I share a lot of positive things, but I don't want to sugarcoat or gloss over everything. And it's not meant for everybody. So that's why I want to share with you these things. Now, if you've lived here in the state for any period of time, please, if you would, watch through the whole video and hear my points that I'd like to share. And then if you have any extra thoughts, something I missed out on, feel free to put it in the comments below, because I do want it to be a help to everyone. So here we go. Here's my 8 not so great things about the state of Florida and why people are moving away. And as a quick introduction, here's Carly. She just went to the groomer a couple days ago. And so she's looking pretty snazzy with her bows. So Carly, say hi to everybody. Sleepyhead, yeah, that's my girl. Number 1 is family. Now, more often than not, it doesn't seem like there's huge families that live in the state of Florida, extended families. There are some, but if anything, if people live in Florida, they seem to have close family members that live in other states. So, you know, there's a yearning to be near family, and in time, you know, those family members, those grandkids, the children, nieces, nephews, it just all tugs at your heartstrings, and sometimes people just want to be a little bit closer. And then, of course, as people age, they might want to be near children and grandchildren who can help take care of them. So there's other practical reasons too why people want to be near family, and that seems to be one of the biggest reasons why people do move out of the state of Florida. Now, I want to share a term with you. Many of you may have heard of the term snowbirds. So those are our folks who come down here during our winter months. So our little snowbirds come flocking down here. Well, there's another term called halfback. So let's say you live up north, somewhere in the Midwest or Northeast, and you come to Florida, you want to be here, and then you think, you know what? I might want to be a little bit closer to family. And so instead of going all the way back home, you go halfway back home. So maybe they move back to the Carolinas or Tennessee or some other place. So you're a little bit closer. Maybe the temperatures are a bit more mild, not as crazy as what it is up in the deep north. So it's kind of a pleasant and moderate in between. So a lot of times we'll see people go halfway back. So those are our halfbacks to get a little bit closer to family. Number 2, the traffic. Okay, so certainly our traffic has gotten a lot worse, and that is one motivation for people to leave our area because of that frustration. Now, historically, traffic would be heavy during our winter months. We'll just say that's January through March to keep it simple for the moment. And then as soon as season started to taper off, it wasn't so bad. And the reason why it's heavier during season is because we have our snowbirds, these people that come down that are part-time residents, and of course people just wanting to come down and visit and be on vacation for a week or so to escape the winter and escape the snow. So of course it's a lovely place to be, but it has gotten a lot worse. Now, of course, depending on where you're coming from, you might not think our traffic is so bad. You know, if you're from a major city, you still might think this is a breeze, but to locals who have lived here for any period of time, it can be really frustrating, because not only now is I-75 a parking lot at times, but even our little side streets that we, you know, as locals are aware of and we could utilize to kind of cut through some of the heavier traffic are being discovered as well. So our little secrets are no longer as secretive as they once were. Now, recently I saw on Facebook in a post, somebody was complaining about the traffic right now, and really it was coming over the Ringling Bridge. And so they're quite critical of all of that. And one person commented and they said, well, when I moved here 13 years ago, this traffic was nowhere near as bad. And I wanted to say to that person, but I don't do. I don't make comments like that on Facebook. But I really wanted to say, well, when I moved here over 30 years ago, the traffic wasn't as bad as what it was 13 years ago. So everybody's contributing to it. You can't come to the state and shut the door behind you and not expect anybody else to want to enjoy what drew you to the area as well. So people are becoming quite frustrated. People have lived here for a while, but there's always been somebody who's lived here longer than you. So, who am I even to complain? So the traffic has definitely gotten heavier. And then one other thing that is kind of an issue too with the traffic is people on bicycles and on golf carts. Now, we do have a lot of bike lanes. We don't have golf cart lanes. If anything, people could ride them on the sidewalk. But even on pretty busy roads like Bay Vista, sometimes the speed limit, I think you can legally go up to like 40 or 45 miles per hour. It's a 4-lane street, but it's not unusual to see a golf cart on the road in the right-hand lane. And of course, the golf cart's not going 40 miles per hour. So there's no license plate on the golf cart. There's no seat belts. Sometimes people they have children, even toddlers are holding on this golf cart going down a main road. So you have to be really, really careful. And we have Legacy Trail now where people can cycle. But even then, I think the frustration is when people don't follow the rules that are set in place to keep them safe as a pedestrian or as a cyclist or as somebody on a golf cart. So you really have to be careful of those things as well. But our traffic has definitely gotten a lot worse. Number 3 is health. People looking for relief from health issues that they have in other climates is a big motivation for people to come here. When state of Florida was really being developed like 100 plus years ago, or at least I can speak for the Sarasota area, some of the motivation for those people to come here just to even work on developing had to do with health reasons. Maybe it's allergies, maybe it's arthritis, or even depression. And I've had people in all 3 of those categories move here to look for that relief, seek for that relief. But sometimes they don't always find it here in the state of Florida, and then that's why they need to move away, because maybe those things become worse, or even people who have lived here for a while need relief from bad allergies or something else. When I was writing the script for this video, I had the worst sinus headache. For some reason, there must be something blooming right now here, and I just have felt awful all week long. I've had a bad headache, and I know I'm not the only one. I've known other people who are telling me that they're, experiencing the same thing, or they've got family members who are. So just because you live here doesn't mean that your health is instantly going to improve. I personally know a family who moved here from up north because the wife had very serious health issues. So they moved here hoping that this would be it, and they discovered it wasn't the right fit for them. She needed the heat, but we have wet heat with our humidity. So they moved to Arizona where there's dry heat, and then that's been a better fit for her. I also currently have a home listed, and the only reason why these folks are going to move away is because of the husband's health, and they've discovered a different climate that might be a better fit for him. So definitely, because of health reasons, people need to leave the state of Florida. Okay, number 4, it lost that vacation feel. Now I know sometimes people lose that loving feeling. Well, same thing. They can lose a loving feeling or that vacation feel about Florida. Thousands of people come here all the time to come on vacation, to enjoy the tropicalness, our restaurants, the beaches, every beautiful thing that Florida has to offer. So they start to dream about living here and doing this all the time. And it's a great goal, and it is a beautiful place to live at day in and day out. But then once they get here, and they just get back into the grind of life, especially if you have to work, paying the bills, cooking meals, going shopping, maintaining a home, all of that. It's not quite the same paradise as it is when you're here on vacation, where you just go to nice restaurants all the time and you're at the beach and you watch the sunset every night. And not that you can't do some of those things, but it's not the same thing. You still have the grind of life that does not go away just because you live in Florida. It's interesting people's perceptions on things. I remember one time I was on the phone with a gentleman. We were talking about Florida and life here and everything. And he's asking me, well, what restaurants do you go to? And so, we're talking about restaurants and different places you can visit. And he was shocked. He couldn't understand why I just didn't go to local restaurants all the time. Why would somebody go to Olive Garden? Why would somebody just go to the Cheesecake Factory? You've got all these beautiful restaurants. You can do this, you can do that. And it's like, well, yeah, I do go to local restaurants, but that's just not reality. Sometimes it's just easier to go to Olive Garden or the Cheesecake Factory or something like that. But in his mind, there was a huge disconnect. And it's like, listen, I'm here every single day. I've lived here for over 30 years. Sometimes it just loses that vacation feel, and you still have to dig into that grind of life. It just doesn't go away just because we don't have snow. So yeah, sometimes people leave because, they've lost that love and feeling when it comes to Florida. Now, if I didn't mention number 5, I know I'd get major beat up in the comments. So definitely number 5 is cost of housing. Just like most of the country, the cost of housing has really gone up in the last couple of years, and Florida is definitely no exception, and I don't anticipate prices plummeting anytime soon. And then of course the cost of rentals are really, really high. It is mind-blowing to me how much things are going for sometimes, and people just can't afford it. It's too much. And especially people who have rented long term, even if they've lived in the area for a long time, 10, 15, 20 years, if all they've done is rent and if they haven't purchased a property, then the cost of rent has just gone up way too much and isn't matching wages. And so as a result, they can't afford to live here anymore. They've got to move away. And in addition to the housing, our insurance has really gone up too because of our hurricanes and insurance fraud. And if you pick any of the 3 other videos, I've probably mentioned insurance in there. And so that's a big deal too. So cost of housing, insurance has just really gone up, and people are forced to leave even if they don't want to. Number 6, weather. Of course, we have no snow. Yay. I don't mind not having that. But some people do miss the seasons. They do miss a bit of extremes. And that's why, again, they might become halfbacks. They'll go halfway back because the winters up maybe in Tennessee or the Carolinas aren't as brutal as what they are even farther north. So they appreciate that. They miss the seasons. They miss all of that. Now in time, if you live here long enough, you will sense some changes in season, but it's so different than in other areas and other climates. It's very subtle, but as a long-term resident, I can pick up on it for sure, and your body just changes with it. Other people don't like the humidity. It can be pretty brutal sometimes because we have pretty strong humidity. I want to say maybe 6 months out of the year. I remember last year at the end of March, my sister-in-law and a niece and nephew were down visiting, and my niece and nephew are in high school, and we took all of them to Mayaca State Park. We were walking around, looked at the alligators, and so at one point we're on a trail. It's shaded. It was just really beautiful. And for the end of March, we were so excited, those of us who live here, because we're like, oh, there's a coolness in the air. We loved it. It felt divine. And I remember asking my niece and nephew, hey, what do you guys think of this weather? Like, to us, this is heaven. And they're like, well, it's kind of warm and it's humid. And like, warm and humid? No, this is cool. This is beautiful. This is low humidity. But for them, they could sense it. So they would prefer having it to be even colder. It was a little too much for them. So it's all relative, in time, you definitely can get used to the humidity, but if you really can't stand it, then you can't stand it. And that's why people move out of the state. And of course, people might not like fear of flooding from hurricanes, strong winds, or rain, because we do have a lot of rain in the summertime. So, if you have issue with that, then you might decide to leave the state of Florida, but that's just the reality of living here. Number 7, invasion. Okay, people have lived here even for a short time or a long time feel like their little town is being invaded. And it's not just the snowbirds. It feels like it's a lot now, all the time, all year. Just like I was talking about with the traffic. People want to come here and shut the door behind them. And if anybody else sneaks through, they feel like they're being invaded and they don't want any changes. It can be really frustrating. Now, I will have people who will ask me, okay, Jill, I want a town like Sarasota, but I want it to be more quiet. I want it to be more simple. And it doesn't exist like in the market that I cover. I think I'm aware of a town or two that might be a little bit slower paced yet, but then they still want new this, new that, new homes. They want arts or culture, certain events or sports or whatever. But I'm not aware of any towns, any coastal towns, where it's going to offer the whole package to you, where it is going to be slow, where it doesn't feel like it's being invaded or growing really fast, but yet has a lot to offer the residents. So I just don't think it exists anymore. So if you do know of something, let me know, please. I'd appreciate it. It's interesting because even yesterday I went to Detweiler's to do some grocery shopping, and Detweiler's is a local market. I call it, it's a kind of a cross between a grocery store and maybe a farmer's market of some sort. And it's got great produce and meat and everything, and just good customer service, and it's super, super popular. So anyway, I'm in Detweiler's. It's busy, and that's fine if there's a lot of people there. That's not so much the problem, but I feel like people don't even pay attention to where they're standing or where their cart's at. They block the whole middle of the aisle, or they block just everything, and it's hard to navigate and get around. So when you go, you just got to take a deep breath and go. I was joking with one of my girlfriends before. It's like, okay, I'm not going to Detweiler's anymore unless I can get there when they first open, or like 30 minutes before they close, because it's just sometimes too crazy. And then when I went to leave the store, I felt like 2 minutes. It was probably 45 seconds, but there were so many people coming in, you just had to wait just because of the way the doors are. And again, they take up the whole space. It's not like, people just aren't mindful, I feel like. Is that like that up north? Like, let me know in the comments below, because like, are people that rude always at the grocery store? Or maybe it's not even being rude. I just don't even think they're mindful. I don't think it's like a legit rudeness. I think they're just not aware of their surroundings, or they're thinking about the other people. So I finally get out, and then another lady who's trying to get in, she was just like, we're both commenting like, oh my goodness, all the people that are here right now. So sometimes too, I think it's just, you got to think about these workarounds. Like, when's the best time to go to places so you're not there when there's so many people. But as a result, so I just am rambling on and saying all that to say that people want to leave the state of Florida because they just feel like they've been invaded. People are taking over their cute little sleepy town. Okay, number 8, I'm gonna say it because I have to. People are leaving the state of Florida because of politics. Now I'm gonna keep this short and simple because I don't want to put myself in the hot water or rile people up. I talked to dozens and dozens of people who are just dying to get to Florida because they love the politics here. They love the climate in that regards. They love Governor DeSantis. They love. At the same time, there's people who want out because of it. And so to each his own. That's why we live in this great country, our constitutional republic. You can have your own opinion. That's fine by me, but nonetheless, people are coming and going because of politics. Okay, so what do you think of my 8 not so great things about Florida? Why people might be leaving the state of Florida? I'm not trying to talk you out of moving here, not at all. I'd be happy to sell you something, but I want you to count the cost before you do that. And then, of course, for those of you who've lived here for any period of time, if you would, like I said at the beginning, put in the comments below something I didn't mention. I would appreciate that very much to help people out. Now, of course, with some of these things, there are some workarounds, if everything's air conditioned. So in terms of humidity, it's harder to be outside sometimes, depending on the time of year. Carry an umbrella with you all the time. Like I said, with the grocery stores, you go at different times of the day, or traffic patterns. You figure out when's the best time to be on the road, or to do this or to do that, so it's less frustrating. Like, I find it frustrating up north when it's freezing cold out and you need to wear a coat, but then yet you don't want to carry the coat around with you when you're in a store or a restaurant, and then you get in the car and you're freezing, then all of a sudden you're too hot and the heater's on and you can't breathe. Like, there's problems everywhere you live, so you just have to figure out what's the kind of problems that you're okay with dealing with. And then if you are thinking about coming here, buying here, or maybe you do need to leave, then give me a call, text, or email me. I'm happy to talk through some of these things with you so you make the best state decision for yourself. I don't want you to do something too quickly and then you regret it. So I'm happy to talk through those things with you. I appreciate you watching this video all the way to the end. Have a great day. Take care.